Alright, I'm gonna pick this shindig back up where I left it yesterday, which is I have this character, and I actually just realized that the clothes are plain clothes, and if I ever want to 3D print this, that can't be a thing. So, I have also already UV'd these, so I'm just gonna like make these a little bit thick, just sort of somewhat arbitrarily. Probably also would have made sense to do all of these at once, but whatever. Just going through, grabbing the entire object and just extruding it. God. That was probably bad. I did the shoes yesterday. And I am actually just going to be incredibly lazy and leave the UVs as they are. Is this good practice? No, not really, because these are all going to be overlapping, but also kind of don't super care right now, to be perfectly honest. It's not going to hurt anything as far as it's not going to hurt anything as far as anything else that I am really doing, so this is just going to be like a weird one-off project. I don't really need this to be see-through or whatever, so I'm not going to make it see-through. Alright, so now I have my character again. I might actually go in really quick and just make this UV texture repeat twice, because it'll be easier. It's easier for me to like size the squares, I think, when they're smaller for some reason. 3. Perhaps like this. Alright, cool. Actually seems like I didn't do a terrible job of getting the size of these pretty much right. The pants might be a little big, maybe. I don't want you to kit. Maybe. Perhaps something like that. It really doesn't matter that much. Alright, so I guess now I'm just going to go through and just lay out all of these UVs for realsies. Excuse me. And get this shindig going. And the reason I'm going to rig this, and I'm just going to do a texture all in one for this, and I usually I'll just like make a separate texture for everything, but I figure, you know what, for once I'm actually going to not do that. And I am just going to make this one single texture as if this were like a game asset or something like that, because for some reason I usually just don't end up doing that. I don't really know why. Alright. And this is just me having a personal preference to lay out these UVs manually, because I find that like Maya's packing does a kind of abysmal job sometimes. That, and I also want these to be easier to look at, like when if I have to go into Photoshop and texture this, like I know where all the hands are, I know where all of the other random objects that I'm trying to get to are. I don't need to, you know, run through and painstakingly sort through everything. Like I want the eyes, you know, the eyes can just hang out down here, and like they can just exist here. They don't need to be 50 bajillion places around. Like I don't need like one eye at the bottom left and then one like in the middle of all the hair, because it's just going to be really gross to work with. Kind of weird. There's like nothing good to do with this head. I could probably put the hands under it, but for now I'm just going to throw it here and I can populate that area with something else. Gosh darn it. Alright, so what if I grab all of the hairs, which is going to be so fun. I hate packing objects like this. That was stupid. Alright, and this is going to mess up, of course, the scale of all my UVs. I might just, for the time being, say that I really don't care. Because honestly, I'm not sure if I do. Look at this, the hair UVs are like twice the size of the head. It's kind of like this is the whole body. And this is just the hair. It's ridiculous. So I'm just gonna throw these kind of randomly in here. I'm not overly concerned with where these end up, to be perfectly honest. I'll just try to pack them in efficiently. And this is something where, like, if I were trying to texture this, I would 100% just go into, like, Substance Painter or something like that, or, like, Modbox. Like, there's no... I can think of no reason why I would ever want or need to be texturing these by hand. Because, like, in Photoshop, because that would just be really awful on so many levels. I mean, there's something about this I find, like, kind of cathartic. It's, like, horrible in a way, but it's also fun in another sort of sick and twisted way. It's like a puzzle of efficiency, and I like efficiency. It's tedious efficiency, but it is kind of fun to lay these out manually. Again, in a really weird sort of way. Ooh, speaking of efficiency, for all of you that either have my class or just have watched any of my videos where I complain about booleans, don't get me wrong, I love booleans. Like, I am 100% just going to boolean this model together and ignore any clipping if I go to 3D print this. Depending on the model, though, and like how you set it up, can totally screw you over. The other day, I literally spent like 8 to 10 hours just like fixing a model that I booleaned together because it was easier to make revisions to what the client wanted, because they kept asking for like a bunch of revisions, and it was like easier to just have sort of clipping meshes displayed through each other than it was to have like a model with better topology. And I ended up spending, to finish the model, like bool everything together for 3D printing, as most people want and expect if you are making them like a 3D printable file. I ended up spending about 9 to 10 hours just like cleaning up the mesh because I had designed it awkwardly. And now if I ever like want to go back and redo something with that, I would have to redo some of that work. And I'm just like, why did I not just make this good to begin with and like have nice topology for ease of editing and things? So my cautionary tale of booleans to you. But now that project is done, sweet mercy, and I never need to think about that again, because that was very much not my proudest moment there. Whoops. Didn't notice that the UV grid was ending there. I'm like, when am I gonna hit the edge? It felt too good to be true, and it was. Very much was. It's okay. Just cram these casually down here. Maybe rotate this dude slightly. I'm just like, where's my UV grid? It's also snowing, and I get off today. And by off, I just mean I get to make tutorials from home instead of going in to teach, which still saves me like $10 in public transit cost, but I will take it. I like a snow day just as much as the next person. Alright. Alright, and that leaves me this area up here for clothes, which is almost definitely not going to be enough. Slight overlap. I'm sure I could have done this more efficiently. What the heck ever. Alright, and for the clothes. Cool. Actually, I might be able to do this. Gosh darn it, I think it can be done. Alright, I actually might stitch the edges of these shoes together just so I have more obvious pieces of UVs. Move and sew that sucker, and move and sew this sucker. Alright, cool. And now I can theoretically take these shoes and just cram them. What if I can fit them at the top, though? That would be easier to look at. Alright, yeah, so I can do like a pants leg and a shoe. Like that. Cool, cool. And I think I can fit the other pants. Oh, this is nice. I was honestly not expecting this to work so reasonably well. I mean, kind of still irritates me that the hair takes up most of the UV space, but it is an efficient layout of the UVs, and everything is like roughly uniform in size. Sometimes I'll fudge it with stuff like, with something like hair or whatever, where I'll just be like, okay, cool, like this hair, what is this? Is this part of the shirt? Yes, it's the side of the jacket, which I cut. I see. Okay. This actually would be probably a lovely thing to cram casually down in this corner, and it is. I think I can get this other sleeve in as well, if I'm feeling spazzy about it. Yay, how many pieces of pants do I have? What? Oh. Interesting. When I extruded, Maya cut the UV shells for me. I've actually never seen it do that before. Alright. What the heck? That's actually really weird. I mean, cool that that's a feature, but what? Oh my god, and these are all gross. I think the inside of the pants. And this is the back and the back, so I might actually just go through. I'm gonna be bad and just leave these clipping over each other because, like I said, for this project, I really don't care all that much about the inside of the pants having an individual texture, and this will save me a lot of UV space by doing this. Alright, and same thing down here. I'm just gonna plop these over each other, and I do want them to be close because I don't want to have to think about which one is the inside and which one is the outside. If they're like basically more or less perfectly on top of each other, I can just like add a pocket in or whatever, wherever I need a pocket to be and not have to think about stuff. Well, that's super weird. I never realized. That's actually, I don't think that's ever been a thing in Maya before, where it'll sort of automatically separate those UVs for you. It's kind of a nice feature, I suppose. But I'm done. No, take both. Just take both. Dang it. Cool, so I have my nice UV laid out character. That's exciting. Now I can texture this or rig it or, oh no. Oh, I meant to add a stand-in for this. Just when you think you're done. Okay. Alright, and I want this to be exactly on the bottom of the person's feet, so I'm just gonna, real quick, snap that. Actually, I don't really care if it clips a little bit. What the hell. Maybe center the person a little bit better. And then I'm just going to go in and add some like really arbitrary details to this. Just maybe build this out in the wrong direction. Why not? Go in like this and maybe be like, okay, cool, here's like a little lip of interesting detail or whatever. Yeah. And I'm just literally just extruding and scaling, pretty much my favorite MO for doing things ever. This is also one of those things where it's like I could use like a loft or an extrude or what am I saying? I could use a revolve for this if I wanted to. but I don't really want to, so I'm not going to. For some reason, I just prefer to work like this. It's like easier for me to kind of think of what I'm doing. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but tis my shtick, I guess. Not really, but... Alright, and I will harden this top edge by just giving that a little extrude in there. And do the same to the bottom edge. Again, I'm just grabbing those faces and extruding and scaling them in. It gets me a nice little ring at the bottom of this. Cool. So then if I wanted this to be smoothable, or what am I saying? Hardened, I would need to go back in and just like boom, 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 boom. Edge loop here, edge loop here, edge loop here and here, and I might leave that kind of, yeah, I kind of don't hate that, so cool. Now I have a weird little stand for my person to sit on. That's actually really adorable. I'm quite a fan of this. It's turned out much cuter than I expected. Alright, so I'll assign that my UV detector and see what horrors I have perpetrated on this poor innocent placard. I think what I might do for this, actually... Yeah, I hate these. I despise these default cylinder UVs. They're just awful. I mean, they're not bad for like a cylinder, but I see a lot of these that like go unmodified, and it like doesn't really make sense with the shape. Why do I keep unfolding this? But it doesn't really make sense with the shape of the UVs. So I might end up putting in some kind of like text on the bottom of this, perhaps. Ooh, yeah, that's a real question. Actually, I mean, this is pretty much what I was going to do anyway, so I'm just going to grab this shell here, flatten that the heck out, and then where is that cut? I would like to cut this a few more times so it fits more efficiently in my UV grid. Here we go. Alright, so I'll cut... I think I might cut... here, and I'll just cut this in half. Ah, good. Alright, so I'll cut that. That was dumb. I just cut all of those edges like a crazy person. Alright, so I'll cut that, and then I'll just leave the other one where it is, because I can. And I'm doing that thing where I'm like, I'm going to ignore this, and then I can't ignore it, because I'm a spaz. So I'm going to do a modify move and so. And now I should have two equally spaced shells that are more or less laid out. That will theoretically fit in this grid, barely. Either way, I think I should scale these down, but that's maybe good for the size of the grid. And then I think I'll just leave the rest of it how it is. There's not really a lot of stretching, so I'm just going to call that good for the top and the bottom. I might make the bottom... I might just make this significantly smaller, because I will never see the bottom of that in any renders, so I really, really don't care what it looks like very much. Alright, and then I'll scale this so it's maybe a little closer to this grid size on the rest of my piece. It's really disconcerting when everything starts moving in different directions. You're just like, eh. Alright, so I'm going to say that's maybe good, and actually, I still might be able to fit this on my stupid UV grid because of how obnoxiously complicated the hair on this is. Select. What is happening right now? Holy crap, that was weird. Okay. Alright, so I think... Alright. I was going to take some rejiggering of what I already did, and that's alright. I still want all of these on the same UV grid. I'm determined to make that happen. So I might just grab this. I'll just put the bottom of the space down here. And then this... If I took all of these things and just shifted them up... Here's the neck. It's literally just the neck. And I'll take these eyes and actually just put them right here. And I probably have to rotate this dude around. Maybe... Have any space to move that over? Maybe a little bit. Just need like a tiny bit of clearance. Alright, so like that, and then this is plenty of space to move over. Alright, then this is no longer touching, which is exciting. Still totally fits better this way, I think. And if I do this, nothing really good comes of this. Can I just move this up? My next question. Actually, I think what I might do is just flip this around, because this looks like it might nest comfortably up here. I was clearly mistaken. Actually, it does nest kind of reasonably like this. I'll just shift this down, and I think I'm going to prioritize the hands over the hair, because that's clearly what's being more problematic for me right now. Just mush the hand in right here. Maybe something. Cool. And again, I could just do an auto layout for this, but it probably wouldn't do what I wanted, so I'm just not going to. And I should be able, the whole point that I was doing this is that I can just smush these little base pieces down here, and I can still pull that up a little bit. And actually, I'll just put the eyeballs back under the person's crotch. Cool, that looks reasonable, I'll take that. And I think I could smush some more crap down there to perhaps free up space for this somewhat enormous circle that I have to deal with. Actually, what if I could take the shoes, maybe, and smash them in here. Take a shoe. I will make the shoe fit. Gosh darn it. I will make this fit if it's the last thing I do. And it fits, sort of, fairly. Alright, now I just need to find room for the cloak and such. If I do this, these pack pretty efficiently. And maybe not. Alright, let's see. Put this here, put this here, and then I still need to fit that shoe in, which might maybe fit right here, one can hope. Okay, other alternatives. Getting real tight. Alright, I like trying to keep everything in one spot, but I don't want to shrink my UVs. I don't really know why, kind of just out of principle at this point. Move these over ever so slightly. I still feel like I can flip this around and have it fit. I can barely. It wants to fit. It wants to fit so badly. I could just take this hand and just put this hand over here. It's probably not a bad space use of. Yep, that fits ever so nicely. Which means that I can now just drag that, and I'll just grab that weird stray shoe and just put it down here with the body, which kind of bothers me, but again, isn't really going to affect anything except my pride. So, I will take that. Alright, and now I have a nice selection of random laid out UVs where all of the hair is more or less grouped together. All of the stuff for the base is pretty much grouped, and I'm just going to take this like little corner of the base and just move that up there. And I have all the jacket stuff that's also relatively grouped together. So, and I have like a few extra spaces where I could go in and like add stuff later if I was like, oh, I want to add like another detail to this. Like actually, I do kind of want to add like a little butane torch fire thing to this because I'm a spaz. So I might go through and do that really quick. But yeah, so I have like tiny areas where I could like add more small UV shells if I needed to, and then everything else is pretty much laid out on one giant grid. Because I'm curious, I'm going to save the crap out of this and actually do a modify layout with this. And just see, I want to see what it does. Yeah, honestly, I'm just curious. It's not bad. I think what I had is actually potentially more efficient, and I have more space between like the hair and the jacket. Which is why a lot of times I prefer to lay out stuff manually. I'm also just eccentric. It is kind of fun in a silly sort of way. So, yeah.